Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. I'm 22 male, a double affair kid. My father had an affair with his best friend's wife at the time, who's my mother, and they had me. Eventually, everyone involved found out about the affair before I was born. And since they all had young children, none of them got a divorce, and they're all still married to each other even now. Absolutely, everyone hated me, my half-siblings, my parents, their partners. It was so bad. I was assaulted as a little kid by both my father's oldest son and by my mother's husband. Eventually, my aunt dad's sister took me in at 12. She was the mom that I never had, and I truly loved her. She unfortunately passed a couple of months ago due to a sudden heart attack. She was a wealthy and successful woman, and like she did for her own 3 kids, she left me a big life-changing inheritance. Especially for a college kid like me. She insisted on paying for my college, but I refused to take spending money from her too, so I've always had a part-time job. She was disgusted in my father and she cut him off after taking me in, so she left him and his other kids nothing, as she should have done. 2 months ago, my father reached out to me for the first time in years and basically demanded I pay for my youngest half-sister's college using my inheritance, saying that's the least I could do for them. I laughed him off and told him to fuck off. She then reached out to me begging me for help, saying her parents are broke and that she never did anything to me since she was only a little kid when I moved out. I told her tough luck and that she can get scholarships and student loans. I told her they're not my family and never were, and that millions of kids get student loans. It's not the end of the world. She kept crying. Now they just won't shut up about it. I've blocked them all on everything, but they keep finding ways to reach out, and even my grandma is trying to get me to help. She says she knows that they were horrible to me, but that I should be the bigger person here. I refused. But it's all getting way too much. Should I just help her to get them off of my ass, or should I call the police on them and get a restraining order here? Not the a-hole. They created the mess, not OP. OP doesn't owe those people a single cent. OP's inheritance came from the only person who truly loved and protected OP, his aunt, not the people who abused, neglected, and despised him. They had decades to show remorse or take responsibility for what they did, and they chose not to. Now that OP has something they want, they're trying to rewrite history and play the family card. Helping OP's half-sister won't bring peace. It'll open the door to more demands and emotional blackmail. They'll see it as weakness, not kindness. OP needs to block them, document their harassment, and if it keeps up, absolutely get a restraining order. OP doesn't need to fund his abuser's future. And now let's hear community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Your aunt left that money to you for a reason. Your aunt knew exactly what kind of people your parents and their partners were. She deliberately left them nothing because she wanted to protect you and give you a chance at life they denied you. Using that inheritance to fund the education of the same people who tormented you would be a betrayal of her memory. Your half-sister might be innocent in what happened when you were a child, but she's still part of the system that hurt you, and her parents are using her as an emotional pawn. You can have empathy without sacrificing yourself again. Don't feel guilty for setting fireproof boundaries after a lifetime spent walking through theirs. Not the a-hole. This isn't generosity they want, it's control. Let's be real. They don't care about your sister's education. They care that you have something they can't manipulate. They're using guilt to claw back control. People who mistreat others often try to disguise exploitation as family duty when it suits them. You've already been more than the bigger person by surviving what they did to you and not burning every bridge in revenge. You're not obligated to fund anyone's college. You were the family scapegoat, not their financial safety net. Keep blocking them, and if they show up at your door, file a police report. Not the a-hole, but protect yourself legally. Your sister's situation is unfortunate, and if she genuinely had no role in your trauma, I can understand why part of you might feel conflicted. But here's the thing. Your financial safety and mental health come first. You've finally built stability after years of abuse. You can't save her without putting yourself back in the line of fire. If their harassment continues, keep every message, voicemail, and email. Gather evidence and contact an attorney or local authorities about filing for a restraining order. You've already endured a lifetime of pain from these people. You deserve to live free of their manipulation without having to buy peace with blood money. So, this happened 3 months ago. Me and my boyfriend at the time had decided to get married, but he still wanted to have a proper proposal, so we went out for dinner. Nothing really fancy, and then he asked, and I said yes, obviously. And the ring he bought is kind of expensive, with a huge diamond in the middle and small ones surrounding it. This is obviously important to the story. I don't really care though. He could get me a plastic ring and I'd still be happy, since I'm going to spend the rest of my life with the love of my life. So, as you can guess, I was giddy with happiness. A couple of days later, my cousin shares one of those "I said yes" posts on her Instagram, and I call her to congratulate her. And she immediately starts bragging about the proposal. A big surprise, on a boat, live music, expensive wine, as she mentioned about 10 times in 5 minutes, etc. Then, she says we should meet up with our other 2 girl cousins. We normally get together once every few months anyway, so I agree. Well, we get together and celebrate both our engagements. So the day comes, and I do all the preparation as we're meeting at my place. Although I did expect her to help out, as it was a celebration for both of us. I didn't say anything. So the 4 of us are sitting in the living room, and the cousin once again starts telling us about the proposal, which all of us knew about, as she had told every one of us this story already. But we listened to her, thinking she is just so excited that she wants to talk about it all the time. It's fine. But she also keeps bringing up how her diamond ring is just not her style, and how she would rather something more appropriate, whatever that means. Then she asked me how my proposal was in this condescending way. I tell her it was nothing fancy, just dinner, and he pops the question. My other cousins thought it was sweet since they knew I didn't like big surprises and over-the-top proposals. But the entitled cousin gets this weird look on her face and says, "Guess he has no money left after buying that ring." Points to it with a judging look on her face. No wonder he didn't do anything special. If you weren't focused so much on the size of the diamonds, maybe you would get a special night like I did. I am out of words. I didn't expect this at all. And my other cousins are just looking at one another, and then me, as if saying, "What the duck just happened?" I tried to explain how I didn't like big events, so my night was special enough, and that I didn't ask for any kind of ring, and my boyfriend just picked something himself for me, and I'd be fine with any other ring he gave me. And she says half jokingly, "Why don't we switch then, since you don't care anyways?" I decide she is joking and laugh, and say something along the lines of, "Yeah, sure, why not? It's only an engagement ring after all." I'm not really sure what exactly I said, as I was still trying to figure out what the duck I had just been dragged into. She laughs and says something like, "It would look better on me anyways, since your fingers are all chubby." I'm a chubby girl, so yeah, my fingers are a little thick, so I'm offended obviously. I do feel bad about my weight already, so her bringing it up as a joke was annoying as duck. One of the other cousins, who is 8 years older than us, realizes I'm about to explode, so she interrupts and changes the subject and asks about the wedding plans. And the ring issue is over. Or so I thought. Entitled cousin talks about how her wedding will be the dream fairy tale wedding, etc. And when they ask me, I say we'll have a small ceremony, since we want to go to tour around Europe and want to spend minimal on the wedding in order to save more money for the tour. Entitled cousin just chuckles and says, "You don't have to pretend with us, sweetheart. We are family. There's nothing wrong with not being able to afford a nice wedding." I just snap at her. I'm sure someone with enough money to buy a huge diamond also has enough to have a big wedding. We just don't want to spend money on something as extravagant as a horse-pulled carriage. She wanted to get one of those for the wedding. And it's not like me to brag about money, but I knew this would affect her the most. After this point, it's just the 2 of us taking digs on each other, while the other cousins try to find middle ground between us. This continues until the 2 cousins decide it's time to leave. I expected the entitled cousin to leave with them, but she stays behind to help with the cleaning up. I don't buy it. After we see them out, entitled cousin pretends to help me while still annoying the duck out of me until I clean everything up. Then we sort of stand there, awkwardly, with her looking at me expectantly. I ask her if she wanted something, and oh boy, she says she would like to leave so I should give her the ring. What the duck? She was serious. She thought I was going to switch rings with her. My engagement ring. For real. I ask her what the duck she's talking about, and she says, "Well, you promised me your ring," with this look on her face that says, "Are you stupid or something?" I say I was only joking and I wouldn't give her my ring. Not because it was expensive, but because it was my ducking engagement ring. And she flips. "What do you mean you were joking? You promised. You promised in front of cousin 1 and cousin 2. Were you lying to them so they wouldn't know how selfish and superficial you are?" And I'm like, "No, I said it as a joke because no sane person would ask for someone else's engagement ring." She says she doesn't want to take mine, and she would also be giving hers to me. She says it would suit her better anyways, and a big stone like that just wouldn't go with the cheap stuff I wear. I've had enough, and I tell her this. Ask her to leave my apartment and not to contact me again. She says she won't leave without her ring. I repeat what I said, and she screams about how I led her on, and how selfish I was, and how I was ruining her dream, and how my fiancé would leave my fat, ugly butt anyways. That he would find someone better sooner or later, and I'd be history, which hit home pretty close. I am a little insecure about my body, as I said earlier. I don't remember what came over me, but I remember her saying those words, and then my hand was on her face. Normally, I would never hit someone on purpose, but I was just seeing red. And obviously, she didn't just stand there after I slapped her, so we got into a little bit of a fight in the middle of the kitchen. Thank God my fiancé walked in on us soon after and got us away from each other. Apparently, he just got home and heard the screaming from the kitchen. She claimed I attacked her, which was kind of true, and I wanted to have her engagement ring as I hated the one he gave me. My fiancé and I have been dating for 5.5 years, and we've been living together for the last 3 years, so he knows me better than that. He asks me what happened, and I explain, over the shrieking voice of an entitled bee. After listening to me, my fiancé tells my cousin that if she doesn't leave our apartment, he will be calling the police. She insists that I attacked her for a few times, but gives up eventually, then gathers her stuff and leaves, all the while swearing at us from the top of her lungs. I was just crying in the kitchen the whole time, as my fiancé made sure she left. She also told her parents that I tried to take her ring, and when she refused, I attacked her. They believed her, and her mom and my mom had a huge fight over it, and they don't talk to each other anymore. My 2 other cousins say they think I'm in the right, but they still agreed to be her bridesmaids. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever be able to forget that day. I'm sure she will make her fiancé a very miserable man over their short years together. As you said, you could have been given a plastic ring and still be happy because you are marrying the love of your life, when all she cares about is the way her fiancé proposed and having a fairy tale wedding instead of her actual fiancé. I give their marriage a few years at most before he realizes what a mistake he made. If it helps, all families have a crazy one. At my wedding, my soon-to-be sister-in-law threw a fit when I wouldn't let her try on my wedding dress. Since then, she's been divorced twice, arrested a few times, and basically disowned. Her brother and I have been going strong for over a decade. Your cousin will get what's coming to her. Have a wonderful life with your love. So, for context, my female 29, boyfriend, male 34, is a doctor. Most of his friends are from work, and they all seem to dislike me and act distant, maybe cause I'm a doctor too. I don't know. I don't care, honestly. Since we've been dating, they've been asking to hang out without me, and they leave any event I'm at. My boyfriend says they're just taking their time to get used to me. Anyways, his B-Day was days ago. I'd arranged for the party and paid for everything. It wasn't a surprise since the party was held at the restaurant, and he needed heads up so he could invite his doctor friends. We got there, then his friends started arriving. They came to greet him and started shaking his hand and hugged him while completely ignoring me, though I was there next to him. The tension started when one of them started making remarks about the way I dressed. I sucked it up, but another friend started interrogating me about my degree, then implying I was ignorant for my food choice. What the duck? An hour later, one asked if I could leave because they wanted to discuss work stuff and it's confidential. I was so shocked, I laughed, asking why he thought it was appropriate to discuss work during a party, and he replied that I had an attitude. An argument ensued, and they demanded that I leave, but I said absolutely not. My boyfriend finally spoke up after it escalated and asked that I keep the peace and go home, but I refused and reminded him that I let his friends know that I'd arranged for this party and paid for it, and so they should leave since they're just guests. He pulled me aside and begged I go home after they said if I don't leave, then they will, but I still refused. They left, all of them, and the party was cut short. My boyfriend was upset and started complaining at home that I ruined his B-day the minute I started arguing with his friends. I told him they were being disrespectful to me, but he said I was wrong too, because they said they wanted to discuss medical stuff and I should have respected that and not made it personal. He's not speaking to me now. I was so hurt I couldn't argue anymore. I felt like I ruined his birthday by making a scene, like he said, and acting passive-aggressive. Am I the a-hole? It's more about a-hole friends and boyfriend than being a doctor. I promise you, if OP's boyfriend and his boys were carpenters or bankers, they would have the exact same problem. Except now, it's top-secret bank information, or some crap. It's not about doctors being the superior occupation. It's about them being condescending, disrespectful, and total a-holes. Not to mention unethical. If that stuff is so private you couldn't hear it, they're probably committing a HIPAA violation. At a public restaurant packed with people, mind you. OP, girl, run. You know you can do much, much better than someone who uses you to finance their party, then ducks you over for their a-hole friends. For me, the big flag is, what is he telling them about her at work that is making them so hostile towards her? Not the a-hole. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. He chose his friends, although you arranged everything. Asking you to leave was incredibly rude, and that is without you hosting. You deserve someone who treats you better. A little setup. My dad is one of 9 children to my grandparents. When the oldest sister, my auntie, let's call her Margaret, got married, one of the gifts she received was 4 very poorly made clay pots from one of her friends who wasn't super close to the family. They were all very different to each other and didn't match at all. I assume they came out of a first-timer's pottery class or something. Anyway, fast forward 15 years, and my parents are getting married. Margaret shows up at the wedding, as does everyone else. The ceremony and reception pass with no dramas, and everyone goes home. The following week, my parents begin to sort through all their wedding gifts. Unwrap Margaret's to find a very old worn-looking cardboard box with all the old tape still underneath, and new tape put on there by Margaret to hold the lid closed. Dad opens the box to see 4 pots that had been given to Margaret 15 years prior. My parents knew this was a gift to Margaret originally because at the bottom of the box was a card of congratulations on your wedding, addressed to Margaret. She hadn't even bothered to take the pots out of the box when she was gifted them or check the condition when rewrapping them. This thoroughly pissed off my dad. Then, his anger turned to determination as he started to develop a plan that would stretch almost a decade. With Christmas fast approaching, my dad rewrapped the pots in the same box with the same wedding card addressed to Margaret, essentially the same condition he had received it in. He then wrote another card addressed to another of his siblings, explaining his plan. He gave the present to the youngest of his siblings. The newer card explained that she was to hold on to the pots until the next Christmas, making sure to unwrap it and make sure that everyone could see the pots in one way or another. The card then explained to leave the wedding card in the box and to not let anyone see it. My auntie would then hold on to the box, pots, and card until next Christmas. She would then gift them and my dad's note to the next sibling above her in age, my uncle. This cycle would repeat another 8 times until it reached the oldest sibling, Margaret. In my dad's letter, it instructed the last sibling before Margaret to not give her the letter written by him regarding the plan. 9 years after giving the gift away, my dad and all his siblings watched as she pulled out the pots that she had seen being passed around from sister to brother to sister for the last decade. She then noticed the note still in the box. She opened it, and a Category 4.2 earthquake was registered as her jaw hit the floor. Now, most people would expect her to erupt in rage, but Australians have some of the best sense of humors on the planet. The family all had a good chuckle about it and moved on to Christmas lunch. The pots are now separated, one going to my dad, Margaret, my grandparents, and the last being the trophy to the annual cricket game. It was sadly destroyed by a rogue ball in that very yearly tournament and is now only half a trophy. The pots have been turned from a low-quality gift to a treasured family heirloom. Well done. He could have just told her thanks for the pots. He took them to Antique Roadshow, and the curator said they're from some clap pot era and estimated their worth to be $15,000. Then build a fake website detailing how the price is going up every year.